Welcome back to Smarter Wealth. This is the podcast where we talk about real life. We talk about real change and how to navigate it all without losing our minds. We are in the kitchen today. This is going to be so much fun. I've got my mom and my daughter, Sydney, and we are welcoming you into our kitchen on a Sunday afternoon. All the mess, all the fun, all the food. We are going to dig in and have a great time and cook some very delicious food for our family. We're going to do a chicken and veggie meal that we're going to roast off, and then we will make a Mediterranean grain bowl from there. And that is going to feed us for a couple of on-the-go lunches. And then we've also decided to make a couple of what we like to call Munch boxes, because those are kid-friendly depending on whatever your kids' tastes are or whatever your adult tastes are.
Okay, this is fun, and this is something that we have done for years, right? As you were little, growing up, here's your face down here. You know, you have now, look at you, and here you are, you're doing it for yourself.
So to kick off our Sunday chicken dinner, we're going to start with that whole bird and get it prepped. So be sure, no matter what, that you get the center organs out. That needs to go in the trash because that's in a bag of plastic. And if you cook that, that could be harmful. We've all done that. Well, I will speak for myself, especially with a frozen bird and you throw it in your crock pot. And then all of a sudden, 5 hours later, you realize that you've been cooking plastic in your crock pot with your chicken, which isn't ideal. So please think about that before you get started. So get that clean or get that out of the middle. But the other point that Mom and I were just talking about is there's no need to rinse your chicken in the sink. We've all have people that we know that feel like we have to rinse it before we cook it. And actually, you're going to spread more germs and E. coli by doing that and the water splatter all over your kitchen, because at the end of the day, that chicken's going to need to cook to 165 degrees. That's going to kill any of the bacteria on it. So, right.
Just keep a mindful eye that you're dealing with raw meat. And so we always want to use a really high standard and think of that through the whole process. Like even how you took it to the trash can, you don't want to drip the juice to your trash can. So just be mindful that you're really dealing with some raw meat.
And don't wipe your hands on a towel. Wash your hands. Yeah. And if you do wipe your hands on a towel, put that towel aside, wash your hands, get a new towel.
That's right. Right. Or paper towels or lots and lots and lots of clubs. So what we've got going here, so we've already preheated our oven to 400, and we are going to want to cook this bird. Now this is about a 5-pound bird. 4.5 pounds, did you say? Something like that. So anywhere in that time frame, you're going to cook this. You're going to cook him about an hour and 15 minutes. And we want to get him ready for the oven. So Sid, what have you got cut up for me over there?
So I have some onion and lemon and garlic.
Yeah. We want to flavor him from the inside out. And so that's why we're doing that. And I'm gonna handle it, and I'm gonna let you stuff it. And at this time too, like if you had some like fresh herbs, like if you had some thyme or some oregano, put it down first in the cavity and then put your goodies, because that way it's going to stay in, and again it's going to really flavor it from the inside out. I really love fennel.
What do you want next?
Put your onion in there. Now this is where you want to kind of, you got all this, so you want to kind of fold all this in there so it'll stay.
That's the skin.
Yes, that's just the skin, and we want to fold this together to close that cavity.
Now, do you ever stick your fingers in between the meat and the skin to loosen that up and put olive oil or butter and herbs in there?
I do. And what I'll do is there's a membrane, there's a real thin membrane in there, and you're just taking your fingers in there, you can feel it, and just kind of separate it. And once you open that up, it's going to go down into the legs and into the other parts of the chicken. I would have already had my olive oil and my seasonings, like my, again, more salt, pepper, garlic, and rosemary. Again, you can use your preferences, fennel, and I put it down inside there.
Yeah, you just take it. And honestly, one of the things I'll do is melt some grass-fed butter in a pan, and I'll put some seasonings, rosemary, thyme, and then I'll take that butter and stick it in between the skin and the meat. So olive oil or grass-fed butter works great.
That's what's so wonderful about a chicken and how versatile it is again, roasted meat is just wonderful. And it goes a long way, but it is how you season it will be how it flavors really. It just really enhances it.
So whenever we are looking for healthy chicken, that we choose an organic chicken from the grocery store a lot of times, or at our local farmers market, we can order a week in advance, and they'll email out everything they have for pickup. And then when we're at the farmers market getting whatever else, or if it's in the winter, they'll do a special drop off. So you might look at your local farmers market to see about what options you might have. But again, choosing meat where you know where it comes from. If you can get it locally sourced, that's going to be your that's going to be one of your best options. But whether it's beef, chicken, even bison, there are a fair amount of buffalo farms out there, and bison is also another healthy option for our red meat lovers out there. And then fish. So we all know that we need to cook fish at least once a week. If you can get it in 3 times a week, that's preferable. Salmon is one of the favorites at our house because of the protein and the omega-3s. But not all fish is created equal. So we would highly encourage everybody to pay attention, ask some questions to the guy behind the counter at the grocery store, and look for wild caught. You might see humanely raised, or there's a lot of other marketing terms that fish will have. And unless it is wild caught, it is typically raised in some sort of a farm that has lots of disease and it's overpopulated, and they actually feed that fish corn and soy, versus like your wild caught Alaskan salmon is wild caught. So when you're looking for salmon or fish, you want to make sure that you are you're purchasing wild caught. And just like our friends at Plainview Beef, where you can order your beef online and you can have that shipped to your door within a couple of days, there are wonderful options like Wild Alaskan Seafood Company that you can have fresh wild caught salmon shipped to your door within a couple of days also. So there are options out there if you can't source it locally. So we're putting the chicken in the oven for at 425 for roughly an hour. 400 at roughly an hour and 15 minutes. And when it comes out, you want to make sure that you do a thermometer at 165 degrees. And then you're safe and it's done. And then you want to let it set for about 15 minutes to let those juices curate on the inside.
And when you're checking that temp, so that's the thing too. So when you pull that out, you always want to invest in a good meat thermometer, because you're going to be, you need to know the temperature of your meat. But with the chicken or something really bone in like this, sometimes it's tricky. It may look really nice and brown on the outside, but way down in here, it may not be, what I mean, completely. So you really want to, and especially chicken, you want this cooked. And you're going to cook this at 400 for about an hour and 15 minutes, again, depending on the size of the bird. Again, we have about a 4.5, 5 pound chicken here. So,
and the beauty is that that's in there for an hour and 15 minutes. And now you have an hour and 15 to prep all of your other veggies and food for your lunches. And you can get a lot done in an hour. It's really, and after you figure out a couple of your favorite meals for your family, it's like clockwork. I mean, it's just a well-organized machine. And once you have the I think the convenience of feeling that quick meal out of the refrigerator a number of times, and you eat that food and you feel good after it, it becomes something that you look forward to doing as a family or by yourself. It can be a meditation process, actually. And you look forward to those healthy meals. And so it doesn't feel like a big burden, even though you're spending 2 hours, roughly 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon. It is so well worth it. We always say too, the secret ingredient is love. Like, this is so good. What's in it? It's love. Yeah.
So all of that plays into your meal prep, and it doesn't have to be like you're feeling like a slave. When you do this a couple times, like you said, Jill, it's all worth it.
All worth it. And I think the other thing to note is, let's just talk about home cooking for a second, because the beauty of home cooking, not only just feeding your family really healthy food, but that has been lost in some of our generation. And I'll speak for myself that, because of that busy lifestyle, and we've just not always thought that home cooking was so important and so empowering. And I would like to challenge the ladies listening that home cooking is one of the single most ways you can love yourself and your family, and that this whole busy lifestyle and having to run through drive-thrus 4 or 5 times out of 7 days a week is not loving our family as much as we could. And I would love to challenge anyone to try to cook at home and challenge that status quo. I think it's been lost on people along the way that the traditional woman or traditional mom is now a working mom, and being stuck in the kitchen has some negative connotation to it. And I just disbelieve that with everything that I am. And I think that home cooking is a way to just pour into yourself and your family.
It's a connection point, and it's an opportunity. So again, you and I, since your little eyes, could get over this counter, we've been side by side doing a lot of things. And I think, I'll be long gone, but you'll remember our kitchen times, won't you?
Of course.
Because they've been crazy.
Yeah.
And so again, to see when the generational, and here we have 3 generations, you are 15 years old, right? Going to be 16. So you have a whole generation, you have your whole group of girls that may not know that. And so, to be able to influence that and see that coming through is really, for me, once again, I've been doing this for a long time. This is beautiful to see this.
Yeah, it is. And it can change a generation when you have young teenage girls that are starting to cook for themselves and want to cook healthier for themselves. And let's be honest, there's always going to be a drive-through situation here and there. And I will say, just even a couple of days ago, we were traveling and I had not had a fast food burger for years. And we were like, yep, we're doing that. It's happening today. And this one sitting in the back seat, she was like, no, I'm good. And I thought, there'll be a grilled chicken option on the menu. First of all, they had not one healthy option on the menu, but I will tell you that cheeseburger going down was delicious. Let's be honest. But she chose to eat some snacks that we had in the car that were the healthier option. And I just think that's amazing. So what we want to also just make sure we talk through is how we put our veggies together along with our chicken.
Yeah, so again, this is really versatile. We've got potatoes and carrots here. A lot of times we will mix the sweet potatoes in there because we really like sweet potatoes, and we talk about the lower glycemic index, but all potatoes are good. Just get your veggies in. And then we have our carrots. So once you chop these up, you're just going to kind of quarter them up. We've used these little baby carrots. We like these because they're fast and easy, and they cook about the same time frame as that. So I want to season this up, again, salt, pepper, some garlic. You got to put garlic on there. And then you may if you want to go ahead and put oregano and that kind of stuff on there, I mean, again, you're seasoning up front and then you don't have to season anymore. You know, when you start making your meal prep, everything's already seasoned and ready. Now, so we have already put our chicken in the oven, and we put that in at, so our 400 degrees, and we want to cook that for an hour 15. These are going to cook much faster. These are going to cook in about 30 minutes. So I have let that chicken cook to the point of, I know that I've got about 30 minutes left. So that's when I'm going to put these in. And so then we'll roll those in, and then it's all going to come out together about the same time.
So for your veggies, you put them in a bowl and mix them up with your olive oil and your seasonings beforehand, and then you put them out on your pan?
You can do it either way. Again, it's a time constraint. Some people don't want to wash that bowl, you know, so it's really up to you. I think that I will always use parchment paper or some foil to line your pan, because that makes it real easy cleanup. But yeah, a lot of times I like to put them in a big bowl, because you can get in there and you want that oil to soak into these skins really nice, because once again, it's flavor. But you can get in there and really get them tossed. But I tell you, I've been in a hurry before and I've done this, and then I'll just take them and I'll do this and get these all mixed in like that. The other key is that you don't want to put too much, because if they steam, they don't roast. So make sure you have a single layer to put those on like that.
And you can choose any veggies that you have in your freezer, or in your refrigerator, but you want like veggies together. So carrots and potatoes are going to easily cook about the same time. If you're going to roast broccoli with potatoes, you're going to need to do those separate, because the broccoli will burn.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Think about the veggie. Again, if you want to like put it like that, and then these have cooked for the most part, scoot these over, throw in some broccoli, let it cook for about 15 minutes, and then 10 minutes, your broccoli will be roasted as well.
Just a quick note back to the one sheet pan meal that we talked about also. If you're just going to do some chicken breast and you just cut up some chicken breast with potatoes, carrots, broccoli, peppers, mushrooms, whatever it is that you like. Sometimes I'll just cut all of that up. I'll put it all in a Ziploc bag with my olive oil and my seasonings, seal it, shake it, and then dump it all out on the same pan. And I'll just broil it for 15 minutes. And that broccoli is actually a lot, maybe a little, delicious. Yes. It might be a little crispier for some people's taste. Yeah. So again, going back to whatever veggies you choose, but that's another option that's still chicken and veggies in the oven. And you can do that that's a meal, and sitting down and eating less than 30.
It is. So once again, you're talking about just like chicken breast or chicken thighs. You don't want a whole bone-in chicken that weighs 5 pounds. We do that because there is so much flavor with a bone-in chicken, or even a bone-in roast. You know, it really does make a difference, especially when it's a good quality meat, how that turns out. And then, you get this awesome au jus when you pull your chicken out, and you get all these great drippings. So this au jus that comes from that bone being roasted like that, then, that's also another whole, don't throw that away. You save that, because you can put that over there, and it's just wonderful flavoring. And you can actually freeze it. You can keep it in the refrigerator for other meals as well.
Sure.
And it'll last for a week.
Well, and the other thing that we love to do with doing the whole chicken is making broth. So a lot of times then once we take all of the meat off the bone, then we'll take the carcass, which is a terrible word, let's just say, Lord. We'll take the carcass and we will boil that down with a lot of that skin and meat, or not meat, but bone. And what else do you put in there to make your bone broth?
Well, so the deal of the bone broth too, there's so much, the cartilage gives you so much collagen. And again, I mean, it is super good for you. Again, you want to use a clean bird. But I like to cook mine down, and I'll throw that in. In fact, while I'm finishing up all this, I'll go ahead and have a pan of water, and I'll put that carcass in there, and I will put onions, and carrots and garlic and peppercorns and
Celery.
and lots of celery.
Yeah,
And again, that's another part of you want good celery, because celery can be really, really dirty. And put it all on there, just put it on low, or you can throw it in your crock pot and let that cook for at least 8 hours. I let mine cook all night long. And you pull it off and you let it cool down. It's going to gel, and you want it to gel, and that's where you're going to get the healing for your belly. But then you also have your homemade broth, and you can use that to, make your quinoa, to make your other grains, to flavor, to make gravies. If you want a light gravy, you use that broth, and, lemon is magic with it. And again, it gives you, so you have so much more than just meal. You have a flavoring packet.
Yeah.
And you have something, you can make soup.
Yeah. And again, going back to all of our friends that have gut health issues or autoimmune issues, my son has an autoimmune disease, and he will sip on that broth. And that is something that when he's not feeling like eating, he can eat that, and he can drink it, and he loves it. And so no matter if you have an ailment or not, it is a power-packed sipping cup of delicious.
It is. I put it in a tea mug, and I will just sit and sip on it.
Yeah.
Oh, ginger is another big thing. So once that's out, I will load it up with ginger and turmeric. And so that creates a really nice little tonic, if you will.
Yeah,
and it's
anti-inflammatory.
served wonderfully warm. Yeah. Very anti-inflammatory.
So we're going to meal prep with our core chicken and veggies that we're eating for our Sunday night meal.
So we've already got our roasted veggies. And so while that's cooking, we've already made our quinoa, and we want to go ahead and we want these breakfast burritos, because again, you can eat those. You can eat them for lunch. You don't have to eat them for breakfast, right?
Yeah, the cool thing about the breakfast burrito is that you can freeze those ahead of time.
Yeah.
So we love anything that we can freeze and take out and thaw or warm up really quick on the go.
So the deal is, when you're meal prepping this and you think you're going to freeze them, I wouldn't put a lot of veggies in there. I would make sure to make them just kind of bare, because your lettuces and your spinach and things like that, it's not going to freeze well. Mm-hmm. And so just to have this is enough. And then you can come along after you've thawed them out, and you'll be able to add all your goodies, like whether it's an avocado, whatever you prefer, peppers. Right?
Yeah, and even if you're running late, it's still a good prep, and you can take it on the go, and it's a whole meal.
Still nourishing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you choose the chicken, Mom, I mean, sometimes if you can, you get your chicken from the local farmer's market, but sometimes that's not in your daily plan, or sometimes we don't have all the time to prep during the week. So we usually choose like a 4 to 5 pound chicken. We prefer it to be organic, but get what you can afford, right?
Yeah. Right. Because just you cooking, start from the basics. Just you cooking this instead of you going and buying a breakfast burrito, you're already way ahead of the game.
That's right.
Or a chicken dinner or anything like that. So again, give yourself some grace, and know that, you start learning and you ease into this, just like you did, right?
Yeah.
Like you didn't jump in knowing all this. You were hanging out in the kitchen, and you were interested in it, and you knew that it made you feel good to eat good. So you wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And you learned how to navigate through all that.
So I would say the same thing about the eggs, that the ideal egg is going to be an egg that you can get from a local farmer that's organic, because it's very important that your chicken is fed good things, not processed grain or corn or soy, because that makes a difference in your egg. Mm-hmm. So to get eggs as fresh as you can get, then ideally that's going to have more omega-3s, and that's going to feed you better. Also, just a quick note, the egg yolk, the darker the egg yolk is, the healthier the egg.
A bit of oil in there. Yeah.
And actually cheaper. If you can find your local farmer's market, go find your local farmer's market.
Support local.
Those eggs I haven't paid more than $6.99 a dozen at any farmer's market versus if you go to the grocery store for even your most unhealthy egg. In some cases, especially these days, you're still going to pay sometimes $7, $8 for a dozen eggs. All right, so now you're pouring your eggs into the pan.
Yeah, I've added cottage cheese, and people are like, oh, but if you get a good grade cottage cheese.
Okay, let's talk about what a good grade cottage cheese
let's
means,
do.
because
Yeah.
Cindy and I, for sure, well, and you, we have become super passionate about the differences in cottage cheese.
Yeah.
So when you go to the grocery store and you look at the ingredients of cottage cheese, number one, it doesn't need to be more than 3 or 4 ingredients. If there are any preservatives or chemicals that, number one, you can't pronounce, or it's a preservative, try not to buy that kind. Sometimes they're out of the good kind, but if at all possible, it's not that much more expensive at all. Really, only pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
So buy good cottage cheese. It really matters.
And then if we want to go back to locals too, gosh, the local farmers markets now are having eggs and cheeses and all kinds of things.
And the other thing about adding cottage cheese to your eggs, which 2 things, extra protein and delicious, creamier eggs.
Yep.
Honestly, I never knew this hack. 2 years ago, I think was when we first started putting cottage cheese in our eggs, thanks to Sydney.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Smart girl. So we're waiting for these to kind of get to a heat. You don't want to cook them real fast because you don't want to scorch your eggs, and they can scorch. So, and the other part of that too is you want that cottage cheese to kind of break down and melt into the egg. And and you don't want to sit there and stir them too much because then they just get kind of mushy. Go ahead and let them, like you'll start seeing on the edges, them starting to kind of form. And so we want to do that. Meanwhile, we're going to put these roasted veggies that we've made, we're going to put some of these in there too. Again, you can use sweet potatoes or you can use Yukons.
Yep.
And so,
Whatever you like, whatever your family likes, or do a mixture of both.
yep, you can. Talk about the sweet potato versus the Yukon.
Well, the difference in starches, right? So I know, like in our house, Sydney and I prefer a sweet potato, but my husband prefers a regular potato. So we'll do a mixture so we all get what we like. But there's a difference in starches, and a sweet potato is a much better glycemic food than a regular Yukon, typically. But it's also all in moderation. So if you are a white potato gal, eat your damn white potato. Like, absolutely. We all, come on, with the meat.
We want the potatoes.
Yeah. But you're balancing it
It's good
with
for you.
protein. So anytime you balance a starch with a protein, it's going to naturally digest better when you're not just eating all starch.
So the study of having a savory breakfast versus a sweet breakfast and how that sets you up for the whole day. And again, people sometimes don't understand the science behind why this is so important, but it really is. The data is there, and so we're talking about glycemic index and blood sugar spikes. So when you start in the morning with something sweet, so your body, and again, you've been fasting, you've been sleeping, so your body's in a fasted mode. You put these sugar bombs in, and even it doesn't take much, like some of these coffees that are just full of sugar.
Absolutely.
And that's the first thing they hit.
One of those contained yogurts, like a fruit yogurt.
Right.
Those are
Sugar.
Yeah.
So that sets your blood sugar. When you start spiking like that, you will, it's going to take a while for your body. It takes 2 to 3 hours for your system to kind of come down from that. But what happens is it like leaves an imprint. And so you're already set up for the day with a high glycemic index, and your blood sugar, even though it's gone down, it's already done the damage, to the system as far as trying to process, like your pancreas, to try to process that sugar.
Yeah, and the other part of having a savory breakfast is also, even though it might sound weird, but adding greens and veggies to your breakfast. A lot of people even take like salad from the night before and add that with their eggs. I know I put spinach with my eggs every morning, and I'll even do like a broccoli slaw with the spinach, and then cook my eggs. So that veggie first in the morning with your eggs is going to offer an extra enzyme that creates a lining in your gut that helps you digest your food throughout the day also, which for those of us that might have gut health issues, hello bloating, I mean, for the love of God, it's plagued me.
Poor babe, you have suffered along with many others, and they don't even know why they're suffering, right?
I know, but that has made a huge difference. Putting greens with my eggs in the morning, that's become very habitual, and that has made my digestion a lot better.
Yeah.
All right, so your eggs are almost done. So that's what, 3 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. Your eggs and potatoes are done. So you're gonna pull those off the stove and lay out your wraps. And let's just take a second to talk about the wrap, because some people like a whole wheat wrap. Some people like a flour wrap. Mom, you use a flaxseed wrap.
Yeah.
In our house, we use an egg-based wrap, only because a lot of the tortillas we found either they don't stay together when you fill them full of food, or
You mix it up anymore?
as well. Or again, going back to depending on your gut health situation, you might not be able to have a lot of gluten or wheat and flour. So today we're choosing a flaxseed wrap, but like in our house we use an egg-based wrap, and they're wonderful.
And I tell you, a good wrap is hard to find. So I used to have a lady who made homemade sourdough tortilla wraps for me.
Yeah.
They were so wonderful. And no, do they stay together as well? Do they freeze as well? All those things, they don't. But the trade-off is that it was just a few ingredients going in your body.
Right.
And they were just wonderful.
I would also add that's another task when you're at the grocery store, just like your cottage cheese. Take a look at that ingredient mix, and anytime you're looking at the ingredient list, try to stick to 5 ingredients or less.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, that really is key. But here we go. So sometimes you're in real world and you're like, there are no good wraps on this shelf. None. But I know I'm putting in good potatoes, good eggs, and I'm at least making this burrito. So there's a trade-off. So, okay, I got one little kind of a crappy product, but you know what? The rest of it's good. So I'm still feeding my body good stuff. So Sid, what do you think? Is that enough cheese? Like about a tablespoon?
Yeah.
Some good pepper jack cheese?
Yeah,
Houston
especially
cheese?
since the cottage cheese is already in there, it's already going to have a creamy, cheesy taste. So you really don't need a ton of cheese on the actual wrap itself.
And at this point too, again, we were talking about them being just a bare bones burrito. You want to go ahead and push that in there for me? Because
much?
We want to do about a half a cup. I use my hand. Here's my measuring cups.
More?
That's good.
That's good.
About a half a cup, yeah. And again, you guys, if you're making these fresh and you're not going to freeze them, like I'd be putting avocado, I'd be putting lettuce or spinach in there, maybe peppers. What do you like in yours?
I love like mushrooms and a pepper mix.
Oh yeah. Mushrooms.
Yeah.
A pound of cilantro.
Oh yeah, cilantro.
Yeah.
Definitely avocado, hot sauce.
So we're just going to kind of roll it up like a burrito, because just think about it. You're going to be heading down the road, right? You're heading out the door.
Because let's be honest, we all eat in the car and probably put makeup on in the car and
Give me a piece of
have a conversation going, potentially.
So you're on your way to work, or you're on your way to school, and there is nothing worse when you're trying to eat and it starts spilling out.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do I do? So if you go ahead, so like what I'll do is I'll roll these up. So we're gonna be able to carry. We could actually put this in our purse.
So carefully roll it so it doesn't spill.
Spill out. So
Right.
we have rolled
So
it to
you're
where
gonna eat
the
it
Yeah, the tortilla is going to catch anything out, but then you can actually take this now and hit the road. Okay, kids, get in the car. Yeah. So we've got a burrito. These are going to keep in the refrigerator, for 3 days. Again, this is your BBB, your bare bones burrito, so it's going to hang out in the fridge just fine.
Or you could freeze it.
You can wrap it up
a few weeks.
Yeah. So make sure that you freeze it in a freezer baggie. But I will, instead of labeling each one, and it's really important to label it and date it, right? So I'll label my baggie 5 breakfast burritos.
And if you have different kids, different people in the house that like them a little bit differently, then put their name on it. That way they know that's their bag.
So there you go. So there's your burrito.
Easy.
Love them.
And delicious.
Love them.
All right, so we're trying to do all of our meal prep.
Yeah, so we want to move on.
Hours,
okay.
Right? So that's a Sunday afternoon very well spent.
So we want to move on. Do we want to make our grain bowls since we have all of our ingredients?
So to make the grain bowl, we're laying down the quinoa that we have that was cooking while the chicken was roasting.
Yeah.
We chose to cook it in some chicken broth. We like to cook our quinoa and chicken broth. You can use water, but adding different flavors and spices. So making your bowl, you're going to put your grain, whatever grain you choose. We're choosing quinoa today. Put that down, and then you add some of your carrots and roasted potatoes and chicken. And in the recipe we're doing today, we're choosing a Mediterranean bowl because that suits our family's taste with cucumbers and tomatoes. We just love that. But you might have some pickier eaters in your house. So make it to whatever you A, have in your refrigerator, and B, what your family's going to eat.
Yeah, we really like Mediterranean just because you have an opportunity to use all this awesome olive oil, or you can use avocado oil, but it's oils. It's good oils and not the seed oils.
Yeah, that's definitely something that is worth mentioning as well, is the difference in oils. I think, we all hear a lot about healthy oils, and just to be very clear, a very good organic coconut oil, avocado oil, and olive oil are going to be your best options.
And parsley.
So beware of marketing out there, because some are seed oils that will say they're healthy. Grapeseed oil, there's all kinds. Definitely like canola oil, all of those you want to stay very far away from. And I would challenge anybody listening, again, tip, we do not have any seed oils in this, but the majority on the shelf that does not have a seed oil in it. Right. Just see what you find. And we've also found that making our own homemade dressing is fun, and we can make a lot of different flavors that sometimes you can't even find on the shelf. So we have a couple of different recipes. A homemade honey mustard, actually, that Sydney makes is absolutely delicious.
So good.
Another one we like to make is lemon and thyme, and that one is so good. And it just sits out on the counter, and it lasts for a week.
So with the dressing, there's a Mediterranean dressing that we like to put in these bowls, right?
Yeah, and so the recipe is in the notes. But let's say I don't have, oh my gosh, I'm running out of time and I didn't make the dressing. What you can do is this is balsamic vinegar, and it has a wonderful, wonderful flavor. It adds a lot of flavor to the meat. Why I like using this too is because even if you're going to eat this probably cold, or you're going to heat it up, whatever, just a little sprinkle. Like I put my fingers over the top of that because you don't want a whole lot because it's pretty pungent, right? But it is going to give it a kick, and it's going to really give that quinoa a kick.
And that was probably about a tablespoon or so.
Yeah, a little less.
So usually, like with olive oil and balsamic vinegar, it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So you would use about, if you're gonna mix it up in a jar, keep it on your counter, you'd have about 3 tablespoons of oil and a tablespoon of vinegar. Depending on your liking, you can also add a little more vinegar.
depending on,
Well, your taste.
Yeah.
Think about this too. So you've already seasoned all your veggies. So your veggies are seasoned. We use good salt. There's plenty of all that in there. Again, what we just added adds a lot of flavor. You're going Mediterranean. What I always, to me, with Mediterranean, I think oregano. And so I like this. Now, Brad doesn't like this. So some people may not like, that. But you can add whatever you want. But
that's the beauty in spices, right?
ta-da! So you have a really nice bowl, and then show what you got going there.
Yeah, so as you're plating your lunch or your dinner, you can also make meal prep of the same exact meal super duper easily. And you can make multiple at a time and then just stick them in the fridge and you're good to go for your lunches of the week.
So you could make 2 or 3 of those, couldn't you? And have it with your chicken dinner for tonight.
Yeah.
As your salad.
Or you can look up other recipes to do with chicken since you have all this chicken, because I personally don't like the same meal every single day of the week in my lunch. So I get out what I have in the fridge and I assemble different meals of the week that I still enjoy equally, but knowing my base is chicken or like the veggies that we already have prepped. This is just one option that you can do.
However, my husband can eat the same thing every day. He's happy as well. So if he wants the gray bowl or a salad, we'll also just make up a salad with fresh whole veggies and do like raw foods for lunch, and then just add chicken and then one of those homemade dressings.
Yeah.
Put that in a glass container, and he'll do his 5 in a row. So he takes that to work with him every morning and good to go. And that offers a good, healthy, raw food option also, right? Because we also want to make sure we're eating some raw foods, not all totally cooked, because we lose so many nutrients when we cook, or sometimes we overcook some of our veggies, and then we lose a lot of nutrients from there too.
Right. Good point. Really good point, Jill.
Yeah, and I think also the other point just to think through is, when you're thinking about your fruits and your veggies, you think about I like to call it the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. Mm-hmm. You can search on Pinterest or Instagram and find a ton of these options that just helps you think through that. Like when you think of buying organic or not, you're never going to be able to buy all organic. Most of the time it's either not available or it's an absolute fortune. So if you think about the clean 15 that absorb the most pesticides, like your berries as an example, if you can afford to buy your berries organic, and maybe not your carrots or other vegetables that you're going to peel, or like your oranges or bananas, things, if you're going to peel them, you can sub out for non-organic.
Yeah,
but
right.
berries are a huge one that to choose to eat clean.
That's really a good tip. So where are we moving to next? So what do we got?
So another thing that we really love to make at home is a grain-free granola. Again, my gut healthy friends or our gluten-free friends, we in our house eat certain granola just doesn't agree with us. So we found that grain-free granola is a winner for us, and we can use it a million different ways. And you can choose a nut mix that you like the best.
Yeah.
We like walnuts and cashews and almonds. Sometimes pecans we'll put in there.
There's pumpkin seeds, which are pepitas, and then there's chia seed. I think there's flaxseed. Then you kind of just mix you chop all your nuts up, because I like them chopped up a little bit. And then you chop them up and then you put them in a bowl, and then you get a pan and you just melt your coconut oil, vanilla extracts, cinnamon, maple syrup. And then you just pour that over the nut mixture and you make sure it's really thoroughly coated pretty well. And then you just stick it on a baking pan and then bake it for like 20 minutes. And then you just pull it out and you let it completely cool so it can kind of harden up together. And then you just serve it. And it's great. And it lasts on your counter for about a week, or stored in an airtight container, or in the fridge for even up to a month. So you don't have to worry about going through it super quickly, and it's good on yogurt, on chia seed pudding, on anything you want, or just a snack on because it's so delicious.
It's so good, and it's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
So like if you're looking for something, that you don't want something a real heavy sweet, this would satisfy my sweet tooth.
Yeah,
You can
definitely.
even, if we really want to go bad, so once again, Dad would want to put it on ice cream. So you can put it on ice cream too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give it a
Take it
crunchy.
where you want it.
And you can also just put it in little snack bags as a grab and go on the way to soccer practice or on the way to wherever, whenever you're running out the door and you need something.
So this is only a half a batch, so usually it would make double this, and that would it lasts our household at least 2 weeks.
Yeah. But we're making up any of our lunch boxes for her lunches, or if you have any, younger kiddos at home, when you make them, you can make them to whatever you like, and make them different. So, and Sydney likes to make her own, which is kind of funny over time. She's like, I'll make it myself because I just want to, and I know what I like better. So
I know what I want that day or that week.
yeah. And I think that's great because now she's taking ownership of cooking a healthy lunch for herself. And what's funny is sometimes her friends at school, they are like, oh, what is that? Can I have some of that? What are you eating? And they might not make that for themselves at home, but they are very quick to want to eat some of her food.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we do have picky eaters, but if we involve them in the process and they get to choose, maybe mom gets to choose two pieces of the lunch and the kid gets to choose the two of the other options so that they have a big part in making
That's
what
right.
they want.
Yeah.
They'll eat it and they'll be more excited to eat it.
My friends, they always are interested in what I have for lunch. And one time I did bring chia seed pudding to lunch, and my friends were like, what is that frog egg stuff in your thing? And I was like, it's delicious. My friends they always want to come to my house because they say I make really good food. And avocado toast for breakfast. And they came over a couple weekends ago, and I made omelets for all of them. And they were like, can we have more? And they just loved it.
That's so awesome, honey.
So for the Munch box, it's super versatile. I mean, you can literally put anything you have in your kitchen in here. But for our roasted veggies and chicken that we had already roasted, we can use them in this if your children like this. So you can put your roasted carrots and potatoes in here, and then you have your veggies, and then you have your chicken, and you can just put that in this side of the box.
And again, you don't have to worry about seasoning this or anything like that because you seasoned it on the front end.
And they're getting all the nutrients and things that they need.
That's right. This is going to fuel them.
And then these are protein balls that we made that we'll have a recipe down below that are delicious and super filling, I think. So I just put two in those, and then you can have that in your lunch, or you can have that as a snack before or after your lunch, and whenever you want that. And then in this fourth compartment, we're going to put some Greek yogurt because it's also delicious, I think.
Full of protein.
Yes, full of protein. And then
It's a whole 5% Greek yogurt. It doesn't have any added sugar in it.
No.
We only buy Greek yogurt. We don't buy any of the flavored yogurt. We put our own fresh berries so that it's a healthier option.
So here I'm adding some washed fresh organic blueberries, and that's going to add fiber and antioxidants and all the goodies. And then I'm going to add some of my grain-free granola. Just a little bit. And that is a beautiful, well-balanced meal that hopefully your kids love.
Yeah, and you can make that change it up and do all kinds of different things. Sometimes we do cottage cheese and peppers, or even cottage cheese and blueberries instead of the yogurt. Or we'll do peanut butter and then a rice cake. There's some really delicious rice cakes if you guys want something crunchy. There's some good crackers out there that do not have seed oils and low ingredient mix. So
cheese and crackers.
Cheese and cracker mix in there is also a great option. I know another thing about the protein balls that we love is when for soccer practice or
volleyball.
Sydney plays volleyball, so to pick her up at school at 3 o'clock and to get to practice by 4 o'clock. If any listeners have children or multiple children and you're getting to 1,000 different things after school, we will bag up those protein balls along with some fresh fruit and even sometimes just chicken. We'll put in bags. And as I'm running out the door from a Zoom call for work, I'll grab those 3 baggies and some water. I'll make up some water and then I'll hit the road. And the 45-minute drive from school to volleyball practice, she eats it in the car out of a baggie. And that's
Okay.
but
I got all the energy.
fast food. And
Yeah, no.
it makes you feel
And
good.
it's
It
light,
fuels your body.
but also filling at the same time. So
All right, so we're gonna actually talk through some chia seed pudding also. That's another favorite in our house that we make for our mornings that Sydney will usually make ahead of time. She loves to shake it up and do different varieties. So you can use a milk base or a yogurt base or mix both.
or even a water base, that works too if you're sensitive to milk, or you can use any kind of milk. But if you want to just use water, that works just as well.
So what's your favorite chia seed pudding?
I love chocolate and peanut butter. That is my favorite, and that's the one I'm making right now. But I also have like a maple cinnamon vanilla one, and that one's delicious too. But I also love bananas, and the chocolate peanut butter one I put banana on top of. So whenever we have bananas, this is the one I make because I love the bananas.
Yeah.
Again, there's so many variations. And sometimes, people think about, well, I've got to go out and buy all these ingredients. You can truly use what you have what you have at home, and you can use your imagination. And sometimes you come up with some really good recipes that you would not have thought of, and it was by accident, just because you're taking time to feed yourself.
Yeah.
And to be adventurous a little bit, right? We want to eat the
yeah.
We want to eat the rainbow. We want to try to eat seasonally, and so experiment. If a couple things don't turn out as you hoped, or that maybe nobody likes it, that's okay.
Yeah.
At least now you know you don't like that combination.
That's what
of
I don't
flavors.
want.
Yeah, mix something else up.
Yeah, and that's, I think, easy to do with chia seed pudding because a lot of people are like grossed out by the texture and stuff. But like my friends thought, it's frog eggs.
Frog eggs.
But I also think like you can change how many like chia seeds you want to put in there because that changes the thickness of like the pudding. So like I like a thicker chia seed pudding, so I put more, but you can also make it more liquidy if you want.
Sure.
Again, variation, right?
Yeah.
What you want and what you will eat. The main thing is to eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and chia seed pudding is a packed powerhouse because it has because of the flax and the chia seed in it already. So you're getting protein, you're getting tons of fiber. It's hydrating, it's anti-inflammatory, it's low glycemic food. It is all the things. So honestly, I mean, it's one of those perfect breakfast items.
Yeah. Especially if you are feeling sweeter, then this is a great sweeter one that's not going to spike your glucose as much as, pancakes will.
Yeah. So let's talk about milk for a second because we are choosing milk. Some people are sensitive to milk or don't like it. My mom doesn't like milk ever. I'm sensitive to milk, and Sydney loves milk. So we're on all three ends of that spectrum.
Right.
So what we found that we really like in our house is just a grass-fed, grass-finished milk. Again, we try to buy organic milk. Also, that's not something that might be feasible if you have a full house of milk drinkers and you go through gallons of milk a week. You obviously, choose wisely whatever is right for your family. But we try to choose an organic milk that is healthier and locally sourced as much as possible. You can get that at your local farmer's market also.
Yeah. It also helps to put the chia seed pudding in like a big shaker bottle, like you would put like a protein drink in or something, and shake it all up so all like the powders and everything mix together. And then you can pour that into separate like to-go containers that you can take on the road with you, or it's just easier to eat out of that way too. So this is the chocolate one and you can just store this in the refrigerator. And if you don't have a ton of time in the morning and you know that like you're on a rush schedule, you can make this like as soon as you wake up, because it only takes a couple seconds, and stick it in the fridge, and then you're like, it's ready in like 20 minutes. And so whenever you're leaving, it'll be ready and you can have a quick breakfast. So you just stick that in the fridge, or you can leave it overnight or for a couple of days in the fridge, and it's delicious.
Let's dig in.
That's a wrap. We had so much fun talking through this delicious meal and this amazing family that we have, and this Sunday meal that we love to cook, and we want to share it with you. So for anybody that is interested in trying this at home, or want just a couple of the different recipes, or if you want all the recipes, please check out the show notes. You can download all of the information that we talked about on the show. Also, visit us at SmarterWellth.com, and you can find a download there with all of the great information, as well as any additional information on the wellness pillars that we so lovingly love to share. Yes, so welcome to Physical Health, and this is what we're doing. So dig in. I didn't eat breakfast, so
Yeah.
that's so good.